Support for Good Noticings comes from Calvin Klein.
With the holiday season right around the corner, heat up, give Calvin. This year, give them what they really want. Shop Calvin Klein's gift guide to give people what they really want, like those incredible, iconic logo underwear, their perfect tees, perfect jeans, amazing knitwear,
timeless fragrances, loungewear. Their curated gift guides take the guesswork out of holiday gift shopping, so find the perfect gifts for him, her, or yourself. And their iconic logo underwear is now available in limited edition holiday prints.
Feel holiday heat and head to ck.com to find something for everyone on your holiday list.
Good noticings, Ashley. Good noticings to you, Claire.
This is Good Noticings. Merry Christmas.
Welcome to the beginning and the end, friends. Is anybody else having that experience where you're like, this winter doesn't even feel that bad? It's so dark, but I'm keeping a peppy outlook. And then you're like, oh, we're not even close to the beginning of hell. You know what I mean?
It hasn't even started. I mean, winter does not start till after Christmas.
Yeah. So, and I'm over here being like, I'm cruising.
And I'm not talking about ecologically or whatever the word is where the sun turns.
We're talking about depression mode starts January 15th. So if you think you're doing a good job, guess what? The race hasn't started. You're in the corrals doing burpees. You're an idiot.
I feel almost the opposite, where I keep on being like, it should be a crisp fall day. Why am I so cold? And then I go, it's late November.
It has been crisp fall days, I feel.
Well, I feel cold.
Yeah, and
I feel colder than I'm expecting. And so then I overlayer and then I'm warm. And then the next day I underlayer and I'm cold. And I'm just living in this like perpetual.
You could look up the weather every day and find out.
Yeah, but I don't know what it means. I look up the weather and I go, 38. What could that mean?
Yeah.
Spiritually. Like I know what it means.
I don't think you know
I know
what it
the
means.
number 38. It's in the 30s. I've heard it before.
I think that's like a great challenge for you this winter.
to know the weather.
Yeah, to like just take note every day. Like, oh, was this too much? Was this too little?
I think I have other things I'm going to work on. But that's a fun idea.
Maybe next year. Feel free to take it.
Claire, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I've been watching nothing but movies, actually.
Okay, I've been watching so many movies.
I think I've watched like 14 movies in the last 3 weeks.
Shit.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But I just watched Train Dreams,
Uh-huh.
which was one of those like Sundance darlings that went straight to Netflix streaming. So it is free on Netflix right now. You
Oh my
can
God,
watch
I
it.
have plans to watch it tonight.
But I think in a different world, it would have been heralded as like one of the beautiful movies of the year. I will say, if you loved the book Stoner, but wished it was like a woke film, that's what this is.
Okay.
This is a bit belated, but if you want to hold off till Christmas or the holidays, I feel like it's a good holiday movie for your families because it's like beautiful the way a woman likes, but about a man the way a dad likes. So I kind of think it scratches a lot of boxes for a lot of people.
Okay.
Rec 2 is hang your friggin' art in your frames. I finally got around to hanging things. It truly took 2 hours and it sucked, but like we got it done. And the way that I can breathe, I am like, it really is worth it.
I love having stuff hung up. I did my whole apartment yesterday.
I saw on TikTok.
And I feel really happy about it. And Bug feels happy about it.
Yeah, she hates stuff on the ground. That's kind of her lair.
Yeah, it's like kind of where she goes. So if you're playing with a toy with her on the ground and there's stuff leaning on the ground, if it goes too close to the stuff, she'll go, well, I can't go over there. There's stuff.
I guess to a dog, everything's like a spacious, high-ceilinged loft.
Yeah.
I guess to her, like the ceilings are always high.
She goes, everyone's complaining about these tiny apartments in New York City. And guess what? You guys are all
They're perfect for a
wrong.
bug. They're bug-sized apartments. And then recommendation 3. Oh my God, I recently got into hairspray for the first time in my life.
Okay. The play?
The spray. The material spray. Yeah, I started using a Davinas hairspray.
Okay.
Because I just learned that you shouldn't be using oil onto your roots to keep the flyaways down. You should be using hairspray because then it doesn't weight down your volume and then you use oil on the end. And so I just got my first bat of hairspray and I'm really excited about it.
Wow. Can you believe that 2 girls who've never really used hairspray since starting this podcast have both recommended a spray?
Oh yeah, since literally September.
Yeah.
I guess that's what growing up is. I do feel there's something about being in your 30s that you learn about hairspray. And I know that women are learning about it younger and younger because of YouTube, but I missed that boat. So I'm on like the old fashioned track.
Yeah. That's like me with a smoky eye as well.
Oh my God, you're onto that?
I kind of was thinking about trying to learn and then I got too stressed out because I
do weather first.
Yeah. No. I think
a smoky eye comes up more in your life than weather.
I guess it's something that like getting the weather wrong, I feel is just like a continuation of my last 30-something years. A smoky eye moving forward, I think would make a material difference.
Ashley, what are your recommendations?
Okay, my first recommendation is Trappist preserves.
What is that even?
It's the Trappist monks.
Oh my God.
That your mom, when I watched Bailey, she got me these preserves, which I learned the difference between preserves and jam is preserves have the whole fruit still in it.
Wow. So you're basically doing something so healthy.
Yeah, but you know how one of the great joys is just like a really well done piece of toast?
Oh my God, do I ever? Yeah, I really do.
Okay, so last night, and I'd been waiting to crack open the preserves until I got back from Thanksgiving because I didn't want to have an open jar like spoiling while I was out of town. I wanted to be able to like use it proper. And last night I made toast with Kerrygold butter and Trappist blueberry preserves. And it was transcendent. It was truly a remarkable experience. I can't wait till we finish this stupid fucking episode so I can go home to my preserves.
And it's a cloudy day. If ever there's been a day to have an afternoon preserve with a cup of tea, and Ashley newly has a dishwasher, so then like there's like no mess, no cleanup at the end.
No cleanup afterwards. The jammy knife, the plate, everything just goes into the machine to be cleaned by a robot.
That's incredible stuff.
Yeah, I'll make you a toast tomorrow.
Oh my God, thank you. I'm coming over. I can't wait.
It's really good. I have an apricot one too that I'm saving, but let me tell you what, it's these monks, they make these preserves to, I guess, preserve their...
You know what I got into last year that they do great? One of my big holiday recommendations was like a hand dipped by a monk beeswax candle. The beeswax, the real beeswax smells so good when it's lit, and it has such like a soft, beautiful light to it. And you really go, oh, I see why this is like a higher quality. So we love stuff by monks.
Yeah, I will tell you, anyone but Jay Shetty is crafting something incredible. My next recommendation is the July carry-on with the laptop case in the front. I have started trying my very hardest if I'm traveling for like less than a week to just do a carry-on. I'm honestly a proponent of bag checking. I just don't like getting to the airport early enough. And I feel like flight stuff has been really messed up lately and I don't feel like risking it. And they have this laptop case in the front, so you don't even have to bring a laptop bag. And I feel like not having a laptop in your shoulder bag really changes the carry-on experience. I really enjoy it. So I would highly recommend that. And then third, Zara Larsson. Ever heard of her?
Yeah, I'm planning to go see her in March.
Wait, really? Oh my God. I feel like I've been kind of circling the drain on Zara Larsson for a minute now. And the last like 4 runs that I've been on, I just put on Zara Larsson mix and I just run the day away. It's so fun. I feel like there's something really great about discovering an artist a little bit further into their career because it's just like a barrel of hits.
Yeah, there's like an already top 10 best ever. There's nothing more fun than being like, oh my God, who's this girl? And then you're like, oh, I know all of these songs already.
Yeah, I've heard all these songs before. I had no idea they were by one Swede. I should have guessed, obviously, but I didn't know.
You probably would have guessed a couple Swedes.
I would have guessed Swedes were involved. I didn't know that a Swede would be the front.
Yeah, every time.
Every time. It's so fun. It's so good. Such great pop heights.
That's wonderful. Oh my gosh. This week we're so excited. You have a small break from the Olivia Newsy Ryan Lizza updates. We did do an important Ryan Lizza update on our Patreon last Friday. He essentially teased that he has evidence that Trump faked the shooting. Remember when there was an assassination attempt on Trump? Ryan Lizza is now claiming that Olivia
Many
Newsy...
people forget because there kind of wasn't.
Well, that's what they're saying, that there actually wasn't and it was planned. And that's what he's putting on his paywalled Substack. Anyway, it's a real race to the bottom. And I think there's a larger conversation to be had about the nail in the coffin that is media. Because, you know, of course, there she is back up at Vanity Fair. Anyway, that's all being covered on our Patreon. At date of recording, there hasn't been a newest Substack, so we can't keep you updated. But we are trying to pedal to the metal on that story.
We're trying to be the only journalists involved in this whole situation.
So if you feel that you've missed a section, that is all on our Patreon. But this week, we will be talking about a couple that murdered a man in Toronto. And was it all in the name of TikTok?
Possibly.
We'll talk about Kate Beckinsale's son-in-law who laid not one, but 2 hard-boiled eggs. We've got, can you believe it? Just 4 weeks ago, we predicted OpenAI was coming to a crash, and it turns out the numbers were true, that you can't raise $1 trillion zillion and think you're going to turn a profit soon. Someone recently started doing the summations, and it turns out there's just not that many people out there.
Get Doge in there.
We've got some Oscars talk and the idea of whose time is it. And finally, Ashley has a reprise on her favorite bossy lady, her favorite Long Island mom, Mel Robbins.
Could I let her? Yes. But then she decided to put another op-ed in the newspaper. And I said, Mel Robbins, come on. Can't we just have the holiday to ourselves?
So this first article comes to us from our neighbors up north, TorontoLife.com. How not to get away with murder. Lucy Lee wanted to be a TikTok star. Oliver Carafa wanted to be rich. When a friend got in the way of their plans, they combined forces and pulled off a murder plot so preposterous that one of their lawyers used stupidity as a defense. The stranger than fiction story of the Stony Creek killing.
Okay. I have a lot of respect for the writers, Sarah Tara Levin, who really went out on a limb with this one to create a stranger than fiction story of the Stony Creek killing. I do feel this story was extremely believable.
Believable. It happened.
It happened, but I think there's a lot of editorializing.
You feel that it, even though it was a well-reported article, there was clickbait in the title of making it sound like these two people killed someone so that they could be big on TikTok.
Yes. And I also feel that that was woven kind of throughout the story as just like a side motive that never really comes from the action itself. And it feels like they kind of were just like, I don't know, this is a crazy murder story. How can we make this
even more sensationalized for the older generations, even more clickbaity?
Even more clickbaity. We'll call it a Gen Z tale of murder and betrayal. And it's just like, oh yeah, I guess I think that this could have happened in any generation. There have always been idiots out there.
I will say you are buying into the defense.
I'm not buying into the defense.
Because that's what they're saying in a court of law, that she's just too stupid to know that murder's bad.
No, but I don't defend her on behalf of it. I think it seems true based on the quotes from her in this story. I'm buying into the reporting. I think the quotes are dumb as shit, but I don't think that that's a defense. I don't think that she should have been let off easy just for being like a dummy. He also seems like a big time dummy.
Okay, I got a Russian manicure yesterday. So I had 2 hours to like
think about this article.
No, but just like I was doing this thing where like you could only use your finger like every couple minutes. So I would get up a big screen full of responses on Twitter. I just feel like I've been going down rabbit Twitter holes of people that I was like, so many people I've never met exist. Do you know what I mean? So many people that I couldn't even, I don't know. But there's this type of person who's doing really well on Twitter right now because of Elon Musk's algorithm, who's like godly husband grind set. And he tells all these stories about like me and my wife were splitting apart. I was losing her, not to a man, but to her best friend. And then like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, or like a comment that really encapsulates it was this man was defending this woman's right to buy her daughter Lululemon leggings, which in this comment section was considered horrific parenting. And he said, she's a sweet little girl. We should spoil our daughters and raise dangerous sons. And I thought, what? Like, I can't even think. I've never in my life had a conversation with a man that I think would be like, I want my son to be dangerous. Like, I just feel like that's such a crazy thing to say. And I guess I feel that this is the story of those people.
No, literally, this is a spoiled daughter and a dangerous son.
Literally. And it really, like, I can't explain it, but I'm like, there is this type of person who posts on Twitter about waking up at 4 a.m. All you have to do to make $1 million is sell $110,000 products a day. And that's $1 million a day. And then they have like an avatar that's like an AI Russian girl. And do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's who these people are. And I'm not fascinated by them, but I'm always struck when I come across.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the story of this couple is they're in Toronto.
So we have Oliver Carafa and Yoon Liu, aka Lucy Lee.
So they both came from well-off families, which is interesting. Carafa moved to Canada from Slovakia when he was 16. He came from a family that made a lot of money in industrial baking. Both of her parents were wealth managers. Her mom seems to have like an insurance company. They did very well. They met in high school, dated briefly. She had braces, so he had to cheat on her. Tale as old as time. Who could hold it against them?
They grew up. When he was 19 years old, he was involved in a drunk driving accident where he killed his friend. He was the drunk driver driving the car.
His friend's skull split open. I mean, it was really horrific.
He spent 5 years in prison.
I think he actually ended up only spending 3. In 2014, he was found guilty and he left in 2017. But the whole time, I think there was this idea that since he was so young, it'd be easy for him to get parole, but he kept trying to deal drugs in there and he kept being like rude and difficult. His behavior was indicative of a young man with an abnormal sense of entitlement, someone who believed he was above the law. He was ultimately granted full parole in 2017, so he did only do 3 years. When he got out, he was 24. He changed his name to Oliver Knox. He then was like all about the hustle and grind, and he was looking for people to invest in him. He tried to open a restaurant that went under. He kept like pivoting. He had all these ideas for businesses, like drop shipping. Good idea. He had this idea, Insulact, a company that was supposedly sold subscription insulin to Americans, and then obtained a license to grow medical marijuana.
So then Lucy became kind of like a TikTok girl with her 2 sisters. They're all triplets. And they would make these TikToks where they were all just kind of like hanging out in lingerie.
You know.
And then her 2 sisters, it seems like, got jobs and were like, well, this actually, it turns out, is not that lucrative. And she was like, no, I'm still going to make it on TikTok.
Yeah, as a teen, Lee had been keen to emulate her mother. She got her license to sell insurance at 17. She was working for her mom all through college. And then after she graduated, she said she wanted a year or 2 away from the family business. Her mother agreed to give her a monthly allowance of $5,000.
Oh my God.
So yeah, she used that money to get cosmetic procedures and go on vacation and try to make TikTok happen. They went under the alias the Mia triplets, MIAA. I will say they're very sexy and they have huge boobs.
Huge boobs.
I kind of can't believe they couldn't make it.
I guess the problem is I feel like people will see you sitting there in your lingerie, but like if all of your videos are just kind of sitting there in lingerie, what's to follow?
I get that, but I'm saying there was 3 girls, 1 account, not one of them had a second idea.
It seems like no.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's
Crazy.
crazy. Statistically, it seems like 1 person could have a second idea. There was 3 shots at it.
I mean, I guess 2 of them did have a second idea, which was, we don't want to do this.
Yeah, fair enough.
It seems that Lucy is impossible to be around.
Anyway, so her and Oliver reconnect after 2 dates. They move in together. He was a bad boy. She loved that about him. He was all about looks and like perceptions. She loved that even more. An example a friend gave was that like she was supposed to go to Miami with her friends, and he said, how would that look on me if you're out there partying? Think about the investors. Which is so true. I mean, if you ask anybody in the investor world, if you ask any guy who works for a VC company, if you ask anybody who does like, you know, private equity, they're always saying, well, do you have a girlfriend and has she been to Miami? That's kind of question 1 when you do your due diligence.
Of course it is, Clara. Stop stating the obvious. We have a lot of story to get through. Anyway, so at one point, and another example of their kind of entitlement and just absurd behavior, right when COVID hit, he had a European passport. So they went to the airport to try to go to Europe so that they could still like party through COVID. He had a European passport, so he was allowed to go. She was not allowed to go. They got married like online at the airport so that she could go to Europe with him. And then they just partied in Europe for a couple months.
Can I tell you something? I actually had a lot of respect for that because something that just happened to me was I was trying to go to a club. I was trying to go to the club and my ID got rejected because it was expired. And I kept going, but surely we can all tell that I am 33 years old. And they said it literally doesn't matter your ID. And they said what you can try to do right now is go online and like, I guess you can get a QR code renewed license. And I tried twice and I just said, this feels like too important to fuck up. Like I said, I just don't think going to the club right now is worth possibly fucking up my right to a new driver's license. So I abandoned it. But I have to say, getting married seems like a bigger to-do.
Yeah.
And I have been more stressed at airports for less. And the fact that they were so quick to problem solve something that would have really brought me down. Bureaucratic nonsense. Like my passport's good for another 8.5 years. I'm already kind of anxious. I'm kind of on edge about what's going to happen in 2033. You know what I mean? Like, I want to take a moment and say that was impressive that you guys pulled that off.
Okay. Next thing. So then he starts another business where he is selling PPE in bulk to Europe because they are having trouble accessing PPE. This is, again, during COVID, but he is also having trouble accessing PPE because there is a shortage. So he decided that he would be able to get it at a better supply than Europe somehow.
Well, I will say this was a huge thing going on. I remember there was an interesting New York Times article that actually followed, of all people, Bethany Frankel, who, for better or for worse, I mean, she is not a woman I'd normally put my name on the line for. She does get a lot of money to a lot of people in need. She does like show up in a crisis, and she does know a lot of people with private jets, and she's like fucking on those jets bringing aid. And I know that the New York Times followed her around to try to get PPE to like hospitals and doctors. And it's like, I guess this is true. What was that Naomi Klein book about how like in moments of crisis, like all the worst actors show up and make things worse? But I think it was super rife with fraud.
Yeah.
And I guess this dum-dum said, fraud brigade.
I'm in.
Sign me up.
And that's the thing is, it was really hard to get PPE, like probably in part because of people like this guy buying it in bulk to sell it at a massive markup.
But then also I think even if you found one of these guys, their supplies ran dry quick too.
Yes.
Like it was just like there was not enough. Anyway.
So he is looking for investors for this business to buy more PPE and get it to Europe. He meets this guy, Tyler Pratt, who is a former cocaine dealer and otherwise illegally affiliated individual who is trying to sort of start over with more legitimate businesses.
Interestingly enough, allegedly, this is the story behind Emily Ratajkowski's ex. What was that guy's name? Cloud?
Oh, yeah. Sebastian Bear Cloud.
Thank you.
Why would I know that?
Well, I mean, I will say it is quite literally our job. If neither of us could come up with that name, I would be like, edit that out. Humiliating. That's kind of our job.
Okay, fair.
But I had heard he similarly was a big cocaine dealer in New York City, and he became a producer, quote unquote, because he was funneling his cocaine money into film. Allegedly. Sebastian, don't beat me up. You seem like the type.
Oh my God, he really does seem like
I
the
really
type.
feel like I'm in East Williamsburg right now. I really think he could be
Stop
here.
saying where we are.
Well, I won't be when they're listening.
How do you know that?
I could come. Anyway, my point is I feel like
I'm
I'm
here twice a week.
I feel
On Mondays and Thursdays, Sebastian.
nobody tell him, but I do feel he's somebody that could be here within, like, by the time I get downstairs, he has the room bugged.
Uh-oh.
And he'd kill me, Ashley. He'd kill me.
Okay, we literally just made that up about him. It's not true at all, and I don't know why you said that. He's such a nice man.
Besides the racism
He is such a
and the sexual assault allegations. But other than that, his money is well begotten legally.
Anyway.
Could a bad man get a hot wife? I'm sorry. Could a bad man lose a good woman? Anyway, back to the story. I do want to take a moment, and there's a couple paragraphs in here that were like kind of skipping over that I think speak to your point of maybe a leap in their goals, if not their methods of achieving them. Carafa and Lee were a product of their generation. Gen Z is increasingly rejecting the conventional 9-to-5 as both unappealing and unattainable. And they have a point. AI and a shrinking economy have made full-time jobs hard to come by. In July, Statistics Canada found that 54% of Canadians between 15 and 24 were employed, the lowest rate ever since 1998. Salaries barely cover the cost of living. Most people want to be entrepreneurs, and it's, you know what I mean? There is this sense of that old system of do a 9-to-5, save a little money, buy a house, raise a family. It just doesn't work anymore, and you do have to figure out a workaround and an entrepreneurial workaround. And people are looking at TikTokers and Substacks and online money. And of course, it's not necessarily easier there, but what you see are the successes. That's actually a point I'm making. The problem is there's like a confirmation bias of who you're seeing on TikTok are successful people by virtue of that you're seeing them.
I guess my problem overall with the TikTok and Gen Z angle of this article is that I don't feel like it's exemplified by Oliver and Lucy's results in any way. Like, I know that they were pretty incompetent, but it's not like they were doing this in order to like flex cash on Instagram. It feels like they were doing it because they wanted a certain level of wealth and a certain not having a real job that has existed for generations.
Yeah, is fraud new?
Yeah. You know, Anna Delvey wasn't even doing it for Instagram. She was doing it for like social clout. Like, I mean, it's just always been a thing. And I think to say that this is for Instagram when if it were for Instagram, again, I haven't like done a deep dive into either of their socials. I don't know if they even still have socials because they are in prison. But it feels like this article would have Instagrams. You know what I mean? It would like show what they're talking about. And it doesn't. It feels unfair to call Gen Z's criminals for not wanting to have a day job that won't pay their bills. It feels like these people are a specific case.
So we enter Tyler Pratt, 6 feet tall, 222 pounds, and covered in tattoos. He cut a formidable figure and a beeline to Ashley's heart. That sounds like exactly your type.
Oh, yeah. He's so cute. I love that he has all these kids in different cities.
Anyway, so he was a former drug dealer trying to get out of the game. He has a wife named
Jordan.
She's pregnant. They're looking for ways to invest. He invests $170K and then ultimately $300K in this PPE startup. They start out as like a professional relationship. They become friends. They share gifts. She's very cute, that Jordan Romano.
Yeah, she's really cute. She did not deserve this.
Protect the pretties. The problem, of course, is that his business is bullshit. First of all, the PPE thing right out the gate,
supply runs dry very fast.
Yeah, it turns out the problem that everybody in the world was having, including Bethany Frankel, he was not exempt from. Yeah, Carafa, you're not smarter than Frankel. None of us are.
About a year later, Pratt starts asking about returns on his investment. Carafa is just giving him the runaround. There's a lot of lying happening. He tries to do insurance fraud basically through Lucy's mom's insurance company and says, if we take out an insurance policy using like fudged numbers and all this stuff, then you can have like a tax-free return on your investment.
Yeah, and I don't even know that Pratt and Jordan knew it was fudged. They pitched it as this tax workaround. Take out a $1.5 million life insurance policy. You keep paying into that. Then once you've paid the premium off once, we can like get it to you from Europe. But he had promised them $500,000. So she fudged this insurance deal. And then they were also fudging the income numbers of the PPE deal. He also had this weed deal that went bad because all of his plants were moldy. He like lost the entire crop. So that was a bust. So finally, they start catching on that something sketchy is happening and they don't know what to do. They owe them $500,000 by March 1st. They're kind of panicking. And then
Crawford decides to kill him.
Yeah. So they come up with this plan. They find a place on Google Maps. It's like a warehouse. They claim that they're going to grow more weed there. They're like, will you come look at it? They switch out their SIM cards with a friend. They agree to only use their condo staircase because there's no security cameras there. Except for that, Lucy is like, well, what am I supposed to carry my bags down to staircase? That she takes the elevator, which does have a security camera.
She's wearing a wig and a mask.
They're like, that'll fool them.
So they go to this warehouse to meet Pratt and Jordan.
They're already running late, which is like crazy. You can't be
running late to your murder plot.
Imagine getting a text from people about to murder you saying, hey, sorry, I'm 45 minutes late. And you're just like, well, I left on time.
I thought we had a business meeting.
So they show up and they're like such idiots. They had done this thing where they switched out SIM cards so that they couldn't be traced, but they show up in their car.
There's also security cameras all over this warehouse district where they're meeting that they found on Google Maps and I don't think had scoped out at all.
They also hadn't even considered the fact that the doors to the warehouse would be locked. They thought they'd be able to like draw and lure them into this warehouse. Of course, the door's locked. So then they're like doing this fake hunt for a keypad, like a lockbox.
Okay, one of the most damning details in this entire article is, so Carafa and Pratt are looking for this fake key that Carafa made up. So they have such a weird conversation that Lucy like can't even stay in the car. She has to go back and wait outside. She's like so impossible to be around that she can't just like make conversation with the person whose husband she's about to murder.
So Pratt obviously is figuring out that something is suspicious because they don't have a key to this thing. He owes him $500,000 and they get mad. Carafa pulls out a handgun and aims it at the wife, starts shooting at the wife. And then before he can react, starts shooting it at Pratt. He shoots them 5 times, kills them in the head. Apparently, I don't know how they got this fact. Pratt only had enough time to scream, "What the fuck, bro?" before Carafa turned the gun on him. How did they know that?
I think that the place was covered in security cameras.
With audio?
It seems like it. Jordan was shot once in the chest. They think she's dead. Pratt has been shot in the head and chest. He's definitely dead. They take both cars and drive away. When they come back around, they realize Jordan has escaped. They don't know where she went. They try to look for her, and then they're like, you know what? We can't stay at the crime scene forever. So they go, they ditch the cars, they trade back the SIM card, they go back to their apartment, switch out of the bloody clothes. Their clothes are covered in blood.
So something else he had done is he had planned to ditch both cars by shipping them to Europe and having them stripped for parts. Because the cars got so badly injured in this shootout, he sends a text to his car dealer being like, hey, by the way, I'll take $2,000 for both of them. Don't even worry about it. They're kind of fucked up. Just take them ASAP. Just take them tomorrow. Like, these are things in text.
Everything's in text, including the plans to meet up at the warehouse where the bodies were found.
They had an idea that if they just threw out all the phones, that they couldn't trace the texts.
Yeah.
They got the phones off of Jordan and Pratt and threw them out in a garbage at a gas station that they have footage of them pulling up to. And the government is like, yeah, we already had those texts.
Anyway, so then Lee and Carafa escape to Budapest.
Yeah.
Eventually, when they're found, Lee comes back pretty easily. Carafa fights extradition pretty hard. When she's arrested, she basically says the police are missing a lot of information.
Well, first she shows up and is looking exhausted. When the detective asks her about her flight, she commented on how tight the legroom had been. She wasn't used to flying economy, she said. Her mom offered to Spring to get them a private plane to go get her.
And the police said, no, thank you.
I wonder if that's allowed.
Part of Leah's defense, which initially she says that she can't answer any questions until her lawyers arrive, but she's just like still talking.
Yeah.
And at one point she says, I didn't know that there was going to be murder. I think that if there was going to be premeditated murder, he wouldn't have brought me, because she says, I'm not a very strong person. I'm very squeamish of blood. It was all very overwhelming.
She also kept saying that she was really far away, like maybe a half a football field away when it happened. I mean, the quotes from here when she gets apprehended, I'm like, this feels like something a man would write as a dumb girl saying. And we'd all be like, this is so sexist.
Said it. And that's what, I'm not falling for the defense's angle. I think that she is a dumb person.
Mm-hmm. When they ask about the fact that, the woman who did, by the way, survive and woke up from her coma and was like, I know who shot me. When they ask her about it, she goes, I think I'm going to wait for my lawyers for this part. She's not like entirely wrong, but she's just missing a lot of information. I think after I give you the full story, though, it will make a lot more sense for everyone. It's just so PC right now.
Okay, and this is where I think the author does their big one, the journalist. For the police, it was less PC. Despite their scattershot efforts, Carafa and Lee had left behind voluminous evidence, less breadcrumbs than whole loaves.
I mean, they had almost every part of it caught on surveillance. They had all of the phone texts. They also had, of course, the woman that they thought they had killed was alive, talking about what had happened. In December of 2021, Lee had a 3-day bail hearing during which her lawyer argued for her to be put on house arrest pending trial. Her mother was like, I swear to God, I'll like lock her in her room. Don't worry about it. They ended up putting her bail at $3 million. Her mom puts up $2 million and then asks friends to pitch in the other $1 million.
So she, on house arrest, leaves to just like go to the spa.
So her mom, like a little bit later, needed to take a weekend away. She gets one of the other women who had put up money to come watch her. She tells this woman, I get to go legally because I'm meeting up with a paralegal. That was a lie. Instead, she went for lunch with her sisters at Dragon Legend, a Chinese buffet in Markham. That's like, I think, a fancy part of Toronto. I'm sorry. For her to escape to go to a Chinese buffet, for your sisters to also be that stupid. If my parents had put up $3 million of bail for my goddamn brother who was on house arrest, and he texted me and said, hey, want to go grab lunch? And I
would beat the shit out of him.
I'll kill you. I would kill him.
Just for sending the text.
How fucking dare you? Anyway, so she gets away with that. The next day, she said she had another meeting, this time downtown at her sister's luxury condo in the Four Seasons Hotel. But when she arrived, Lee just used the gym and scrolled on her phone. By the way, of course, she had an ankle monitor on, so all of this was being monitored by the GPS. And then she's like arrested for breaking bail. Listen, I am sure that if I was stuck in my home for a year, I would love to go to the gym and just look at my phone somewhere. I guess no. I think if I did nothing but look at my phone for all of that time.
Like, just be home then.
At least just go to the gym and work out hard. I don't know. Go outside, breathe the air. I also love that her sister has an apartment at like the Four Seasons. I really am like, damn. It's so true. Spoiled daughter, dangerous son.
Anyway, so then Lee finally has her hearing where her lawyer's defense is that she is too stupid to function.
Do you want to read the full quote?
Her defense said, Lucy Lee is a distinctly flawed, naive, superficial, entitled, and sometimes vacuous, irresponsible, and quite juvenile human being. She has many moral failings and conducted herself poorly and immorally with respect to the fake insurance application and the accompanying lies, but that doesn't make her a murderer. Miss Lee concedes that she may be the stupidest person in the room.
I guess I am really curious. I can't believe she was working for her mom. Imagine you have a wealth manager who brings on her daughter, and then later her daughter not only does murder, but claims she's too stupid to know that murder is bad. And you're like, and you were handling my finances? I think a really important piece to this puzzle is, could she have gotten away with the insurance fraud? Because I think if you're smart enough to do insurance fraud, you have to go to jail.
Yeah.
I think you don't get to be like, I'm too stupid to know murder's bad, but not too stupid to do insurance thing.
I guess I definitely feel that one of the big problems with this defense is that should she get off and then just go back into the world, she would definitely be an accomplice to more murder.
Yeah. I guess the problem is he has literally already killed somebody recklessly.
Yeah.
He drunk drove and killed somebody.
And she knew that and liked that about him.
Yeah.
Like, who is she going to date next should she get off from this convict? Like, she's going to just, like, go be another criminal's girlfriend and, like, help them do more crimes, but, like, poorly because she's an idiot.
Her big defense is that she had no idea what was going on and she only went because she thought he was going to cheat on her with some stripper that Jordan was bringing. Fucking Jordan, you shot her.
Why throw her under the bus?
Now to be like, also her slut friends, leave her the fuck alone. Haven't you done enough to Jordan? You killed her husband.
And you killed her baby.
I know, but I didn't even want to say that because that's too sad.
It's really sad.
I don't even like to bring it up jokingly.
I wasn't joking. It really is sad.
I know, but I feel there's a joking at tone. So basically, they did end up going to jail. Then there was another case about the broken bail because, of course, they're trying to get their money back, but she broke bail. And the woman who was like babysitting her is on the hook for $50,000. And they did end up having to pay $1 million for the bail break. And I guess I am like, could you imagine if your brother was on house? I like really would kill him.
I really would kill him. Yeah.
I have to say to my brother, if you're listening, if you do murder and our parents put up like all of their money in the world to get you home and then you like go to the gym and just scroll on your phone. Can you imagine paying $1 million to go to the gym and scroll on your phone?
No.
You don't even really like paying any money to go to the gym at all.
No, I don't.
Lee and Carafa, who remain married, both declined my request for interviews. They both went to 2 different jails. Despite their convictions, they still seem to believe in the existence of a get-out-of-jail-free card. Carafa recently filed an appeal, and Lee is shopping around for a new lawyer.
I'm so fascinated by these people who recklessly committed murder. And to do what? Like, all of these businesses make no sense. None of it feels clout chasey. All of it feels like motivated by a very specific lifestyle and like wanting to do crime.
Yeah. It's so shocking that she had so much money at home.
Yeah. Like your parents have $2 million. Your sister lives in the Four Seasons.
It just seems like it was very possible to live a glamorous life. It's a very bizarre, like it really did seem like she liked the danger of it. Anyway, good luck to Jordan.
What a specific curse to have as part of your being, to love the danger of crime, but also to be like a remarkably dumb individual.
I don't even want to give her dumb.
I really think she's dumb.
I know, but I don't think she's dumb enough for it to be the excuse.
No, it's not an excuse at all. I just think it's simultaneously true.
Well, murder's really hard. I mean, with everything they've got these days, the DNA and the phones. That's the reason I can't do murder is you have to like leave your phone for so long. You like can't ever check your phone. They can ping it.
I don't pay attention to true crime stuff. I don't read a lot of true crime. I am shocked by how many things just like didn't get done here. Like you can't just bring your bloody clothes back to your apartment and like change in the bathroom and then like put it in a bag and throw it away later.
It's so funny to be willing to do murder and not take the stairs.
It's crazy.
Support for Good Noticing comes from Calvin Klein.
There's something so satisfying about the perfect pair of underwear. It sets you up to feel sexy and confident no matter what you're wearing on top. And that's exactly what Calvin Klein is known for. It's iconic under everything.
With the holiday season right around the corner, heat up, give Calvin. Shop their iconic underwear styles and limited edition holiday colors and prints. It's perfect for everybody on your shopping list. Heck, I'd even buy them for myself. Sometimes my favorite person to shop for is me.
Oh, that's the hardest part about the holiday season when you're scrolling through a gift guide and you go, you know who these gifts would be perfect for?
Listen, you could hope somebody's going to get you a perfect set of Calvin Klein underwear in the holiday colors, or you could just cut out the middleman and get them for yourself. Be your own Santa, I always say.
From classics like holiday underwear to logo tees, iconic denim, cozy sweatshirts, and loungewear.
This season, give them what they really want. Feel holiday heat, head to ck.com to get the perfect gift for everybody on your list, all in one place.
Support for Good Noticings is brought to you by Starbucks.
With Starbucks, every little sip makes the holidays more magical.
My favorite holiday beverage since the first time I took a sip of it tepidly years ago, I said, oh, I'm overcome with holiday spirit and joy. It's the peppermint mocha.
I love the caramel brulee latte. I actually introduced my husband to eggnog and like at home for Christmas. And it was the first time he'd ever have it. And he loved it so much. And then the next day he was like, you'll never believe what they have at Starbucks, an eggnog latte. And so we like love to go get a little eggnog latte together. Kind of our Christmas tradition.
Come together over your holiday favorites at Starbucks.
Okay, we have something important in medical to bring to you. And it's funny because it's kind of a 2-4 medical situation where I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't feel like it got the attention it deserved.
I don't feel it did. I guess today so far the theme is what?
Like,
what is going on here?
Women who are not smart. Is that what you wanted to say, but you were scared?
No, I wasn't going to attribute it to women specifically at all because next we're talking about AI and I feel that that's men who are not smart.
Anyway, Kate Beckinsale recently went on Jimmy Kimmel and shared that a bright spot in her life recently has been that her daughter's boyfriend has laid 2 eggs.
From his butt.
From his butt. It is explicitly made clear on national television. Imagine you start dating a girl and randomly her mom's Kate Beckinsale, and like the thing you don't know is that one day she will go on national TV late night shows and be like, he's laid 2 eggs from his butt. Something interesting that she does almost at the gate, unprompted, fully unprompted, is she brings up that he's Jewish from New Jersey.
I do think that's the more offensive part of the entire
And then she goes, but I've
conversation.
been asking around and people don't think that has anything to do with the eggs. I was like, oh, you've been asking around. She ran a poll. She doesn't think it's related.
You've been going to all the Jews you know asking if they can lay eggs. I promise you that this is not the time in our nation's history to be asking questions like that.
I really like it when people go off script and they manage to be like bigoted in a way that like no cartoon has shown them how to be before. You know what I mean? Like just inventing stereotypes as you go.
One of my long-held beliefs is that Kate Beckinsale like longs to be funny.
Oh, well, of course. Tell about your, I mean, yes.
I've been 1 degree of separation from her for a very long time
1 degree of separation feels crazy.
because she just like would befriend, when I lived in LA, she would just like befriend young comedians because she likes being around like young. That's how she ended up dating Matt Rife.
And Pete Davidson.
Wow,
2 really
I
young
hosted
comedians.
an open mic with someone who was friends with her. And I'd always be like, do you think Kate Beckinsale would come to our open mic? And he'd be like, yes, she would.
Imagine hanging out with a male open micer.
Well, he was gay.
That doesn't really make it better.
Okay.
I guess open micer more than anything.
And a lot of the people that she was friends with, not the person I'm talking about specifically, but everyone else that I knew that was friends with her was like, you know, those people who are just like not that funny and everyone is like, what's up with this? And like, who is this person? And they just like get a lot of spots at the Comedy Store or whatever, but no one's really sure why, the Matt Rife of it all. She was friends with a lot of people like that, where I was like, okay, so she doesn't really have a good sense of humor. She just like likes the title of comedian, like the self-imposed title of comedian.
We say this all the time. There is a group of famous people who want to be accepted by comedians because they hold comedians in this regard of like, people say this to me all the time. And I know, I'm sure you get it too. But you know, when people will be like, oh, well, you know, you have to be really smart to be funny. And they say that to you as if they're in on the secret that you're smart. And you're kind of like, well, I didn't know it was a secret that I'm so like as if they're like, hey, I know everyone else here thinks you're a fucking moron clown. But me, I know, honking that nose, it actually takes a lot.
That's a really
EQ.
smart thing to do.
Thank you for letting me know. I'm glad you're in on the secret. But I do think there's a group of people who think that comedians are smart. And because of that, to get their approval, you know, they're so ugly and they're so smart and they're so elitist about the truth and being funny. But what they fail to understand is that comedians are, by and large, some of the most desperate, fuggo, clout chasey.
I mean, this whole thing that you're talking about right now is like the doom spiral that our current government is in, where like you have people leading the country who think that comedians are like the number one people that you want approval from.
JD Vance calls Tim Dillon to get a temp check on the country. Apparently, Trump calls Shane Gillis and Joe Rogan. But I think it happens sometimes in Hollywood, especially with A Beautiful Woman. And I think like the Busy Phillips story is this, where they have this idea that if a man I think is funny likes me, that means I have this like true personality quality that's more than looks, and it's important to be and I'm like,
you are one of the most beautiful, famous people in the world.
But do you know what I mean? But like more than that, more than the average Joe on the street, a comedian is somebody who will like cling to any modicum of clout or like comedians actually more than anybody else, I think, are more desperate to be associated with somebody of power. The only reason they become funny is because they're so devoid of power and charisma that they flock to it like flies to a light bulb.
I mean, it's people who are so desperate for approval that they get up in front of audiences every single night and make fun of themselves to crack a smile in the front row.
Groveling, really low life grovelers. And I mean, as a
book me, please book me.
I say this as one of them. To get me to be impressed with you is almost an insult.
I will say, if you have ever told me that I'm funny and I still don't really like you, you're tough to be around. It's very easy to get me to stick around if you've just given me compliments about my comedy. So she says her daughter's boyfriend laid 2 eggs, hard-boiled, cooked inside of his body, and then shot out his butt. Shell and all.
So far, all we can come up with that is not because he's Jewish.
Then why?
I guess I'm so interested because I've never done late night, obviously, but I would love to if you're listening.
Can I say, George Clooney, rework your pranks because you're getting upstaged.
But I guess I'm just so curious because I'm pretty sure they do have to do a pre-interview where they come up with these in advance. For those of you who still have the wool over your eyes, Jimmy Kimmel isn't just honestly going, and has there been a bright spot in your life recently? And she said, actually, now that you bring it up, yeah, a boy I know is laying eggs. Like they run these by producers and it's rehearsed. Sometimes they even do the whole conversation beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I just am like, why this story?
Yeah.
I can't find it now. It's saying she doesn't have a nephew, but didn't she put up some weird photo of her like hugging her nephew?
I don't remember, but I do think she does odd shit.
All the time, right?
I think that's like a big thing for her is just doing odd shit. And sometimes you go, why? And other times you go, well, why not?
I will say, one time I went to a play. It was Macbeth in the rounds at the Armory on the Upper East Side.
Mm-hmm.
And across from me was Anna Wintour, who I could tell from her haircut, and then just a woman in a white coat who was so beautiful that even though I didn't have my glasses, there was like a glow that like made me go, that's beauty. And I knew it. And then I Googled the photos later and it was Kate Beckinsale. And I just thought, wow, beautiful, beautiful. So I guess that kind of shit drives you crazy and attracts eggs. Like I can't even explain it. I was like, what is emanating and glowing from near Anna Wintour? Anyway, do you have any final things you'd like to say about her?
Yeah, I guess I wish her the best. I wish her daughter's boyfriend best of luck in dealing with his egg problem. Whether the egg problem is his girlfriend's mom being on TV claiming he's laying eggs, or whether the problem be that he is laying eggs. I think both things are a huge problem. Yeah, so I guess whatever the egg situation is, I hope he finds his way through.
He gets through, not any more eggs.
And I hope that she finds some people to maybe
laugh at her jokes so she doesn't have to make up lies.
I was going to say co-write these bits. I think maybe getting a second eyes on the paper might be helpful.
She had a photo that she only showed Jimmy. She wouldn't show us.
I think it was probably covered in shit. She said it was too gross to show. So either the butt is in the picture or...
Don't say it again, Ashley. We know. Anyway, moving on.
How did they know there was a yolk? They cracked it open.
Ew. Ashley, shut up.
She's the one who said it on TV.
Yeah, but we have power. We're empowered people. We have to turn the page.
Matthew McConaughey. Anyway. Support for Good Noticings comes from Cotton.
Everyone's got that comfort item in their closet that's perfect for colder months. It's soft, it's cozy, it feels great on your skin, it's lasted for years, and the chances are it's made from cotton.
It's the comfy thing that you never take off, except for maybe post-movie marathon when it is covered in crumbs, especially if you're Claire.
Oh. Okay. I was about to say, some of my favorite cotton clothes weren't even just mine. Like they're thrifted old t-shirts. So they've had an entire life for somebody else. And now they're on like round 2 of surviving.
You got to let someone break them in for you.
They need 20 years on somebody's dad's back.
The softest item he owned is now softer than ever before.
So everything I wear is my husband's, but then everything my husband wears is his dad's. And there are times that I'm like, oh, like no disrespect to my father-in-law, but sometimes you go up top to bottom, I'm wearing my father-in-law's clothes.
And he has amazing taste, so it's all 100% cotton.
No, he like only wears the best quality, so it's 100%.
Cotton is the fabric of our lives.
Because all throughout the holidays, it's right there, wrapping you up in its comfort and keeping you cozy during the holidays. So when you're shopping for something cozy this winter, make sure to check the tag for cotton. Learn more at thefabricofourlives.com. Support for Good Noticings comes from Starbucks.
With every sip, Starbucks makes the holidays feel a little more special.
Enjoy delicious holiday favorites like the peppermint mocha. Did you know that me and my husband actually got together because of a Starbucks at the holidays?
Well, tell the story.
Okay. When I just had a crush on him and he just had a crush on me, every single day at work, we would go for like an afternoon coffee and we'd have to bring the whole office so that we pretended we weren't flirting. And then finally, one of the Starbucks employees we were friends with like asked a guy that worked with us, so like, what are those two dating? Because we were always chatting. And then our friend was like, yeah, the guy at Starbucks thought you guys were dating. Isn't that crazy? And we were both like, ha ha ha, crazy. And then finally my husband asked me out on a date. And it was because of the Starbucks employees. So I actually owe my whole marriage to Starbucks.
Come together over your holiday favorites at Starbucks. I've got terrible news for the AI hopefuls. It looks like things aren't shaping up so hot.
So Oracle is already underwater on its astonishing $300 billion OpenAI deal. This comes from the Financial Times.
And Windows Central is reporting that OpenAI is a loss-making machine with no road to profitability by 2030. And that is still with a lot of very loose estimates. They're essentially asserting that it's definitely not going to become profitable, and likely the loans and the AI bubble will take down the economy.
So essentially, like, everybody's put a ton of money into AI. Oracle put a $300 billion investment in it. But the problem is it's looking so far like it's never going to make its money back. And as we've talked about before, because of the degradation of the quality of like the actual technology itself, by the time they get to a place where they're like, well, by 2030, it'll start making money, it'll take another $200 billion to invest just to keep it going. So they are like never going to see money back on the deals they've already made. All they can hope is that if they dig the hole deeper, eventually they'll hit water, I guess.
Right. And it's looking like that won't be true because of a variety of factors, including that these models don't take into account the fact that the cost of energy itself will likely change over the next several decades, or even the next single decade. We've seen the cost of energy rise significantly in our lifetimes. So the fact that these are such energy-sucking tools, that's going to factor into rising costs. Obviously, like we've talked about before, the equipment does depreciate rapidly.
Also, they're not really sure what they're going to use it for. They're like, sure, Copilot sucks now. And a lot of the ways they're putting AI into our life like isn't really working and showing the productivity they had promised. But they're like, eventually it'll get better. But then the question is, and then to what end? Because right now, some of the millions of dollars, or I guess they're saying billions, I guess they're saying trillions, but so far, they're like, oh, it'll be really helpful for customer service. But a lot of companies actually have reverted back to human customer service because it turns out talking to a robot doesn't really help you.
Right. Did you read that piece in N+1 about the Barbaras?
No.
Okay, there was a piece in N+1 about a woman whose job after college, while she was looking for a full-time job, was to be a team of kind of human assistants to a real estate company's AI chatbot, where they had to have a team of humans kind of on call, where there was like a 3-minute timer. And every time the AI chatbot was about to send a message, a human would check it to make sure that they were responding to the right prompts, that they weren't picking up on the wrong keyword. They were all in a Slack channel called like the Barbaras. It was a really interesting essay. I'll link to it in the show notes about the way that as a human fallback for AI, this person found themselves becoming like more like AI because it was such a monotonous gig that responding less humanly led to less intricate responses from whoever was chatting to the chatbot.
Like if you say like keep it to yes or no questions, they're not giving you full explainers.
Right. And so by responding more simply like a robot,
you could turn the people around you into robots.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny? You know, that's exactly like, you know, when you're on the phone with somebody, you start whispering and then they start whispering.
Yeah. Exactly. And so like being a human AI backup makes you more like AI than it makes the AI human.
Interesting. That this idea that the training won't actually go as fast as possible, especially if we're all aware that we're talking to AI all the time.
Yes. And it was just an interesting thing about how you do need the human to assist the AI.
I mean, who here has ever called customer service because there was something they could figure out with a chat bot? Like so often you're like, no, I just need to talk to somebody for like 1 minute and figure this out.
Exactly. And then it's really interesting because she was writing about the instances that she had really no way of helping with because, I mean, this person was literally talking to a chat bot, but she herself was remote. So people would be like going to apartment meetings and being like, I can't find the front door. And she was like,
yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know where the front door, like, but they can't say that. So she'd be like, sorry, I'm a remote assistant. I'll make sure the leasing office gets in touch with you as quickly. Like there was just very little you could do. And it is something that if the real estate agent just has your phone number, it's very solvable. Like there's no reason for it to be 15 emails. Anyway, the point is a lot of companies, according to this article, that wasn't the conclusion of the Barbara article, but according to this article, companies are finding that they can't rely on AI as their customer service the way they thought they could.
One of the big things is that everybody's taking on debt, which I thought that's what everybody always did. But apparently, like, it's so much money that even companies like SoftBank, which is like one of the largest equity funds in the world, like they're all taking on more debt to be able to pay off OpenAI to keep these deals going with like no promise of return. And not even no promise, but now most logical people are saying, I don't think there's even a possibility of return.
Yeah. So essentially, one of the reasons that AI is being forced upon us in so many aspects of our lives, because obviously we have OpenAI and then we have every other tech company in this race to the bottom pouring zillions of dollars into their own AI tools to try to like be on top of the AI race. And essentially they're saying if we don't use it, the debt structure will inevitably implode. It will wipe out billions in unpaid loans. As usual, the banks will be bailed out and the taxpayer will have to foot the bill. Higher costs, decreased employment opportunities, higher interest rates, and likely another round of sticky inflation. So essentially what they're saying is people are not adopting it the way that these tech companies believe they would. They're trying to force us to adopt it. They use Spotify as an example, a company that was not profitable for about 10 years until they kind of just changed the way we all listen to music and became profitable and still kind of wiped out the music industry as we know it. I won't say Spotify necessarily did that. I think all streaming
I mean, I will say Spotify had to respond to Napster.
Right. But this is not just the music industry. This is like the global economy.
It's also crazy to think like, what's the end goal here? That we're going to lay off like half the world and then what? Do you
Exactly.
think the world will be better off when only 50% of people have jobs and then 50% of people are like homeless? Like, I don't know what the end goal is. Like this idea that the best thing you can do as a company is employ the fewest people. I don't know what the long-term plan for the world would be.
Right. And that's also brought up in this article where they say, who's going to be there to chat with the chatbots when the human economy has fallen apart? Who's going to be buying something and calling customer service when no one has any money because no one has any jobs because AI is doing all the jobs? Yeah, I guess there's a lot of hope here. These data centers are going to make really cool apartments.
You know how you live in a factory, like an old factory?
Yeah.
I feel like data centers become the new converted loft situation.
Plug me in. I'm going to bed. Should we talk about the Oscars?
Yeah. You read an interesting article in Vulture. It was a conversation about the idea of who's winning Oscars and whose turn it is. And of course, the Academy is not a faultless, perfect science. It is just a bunch of people being swayed by expensive PR campaigns and human interest pieces. And it is so interesting to think about it that way, because I think we put so much stock into the idea of these creative achievements. And I have to say, as somebody who read and liked the book Trust, when I saw that it was like a Booker, was it a Booker or maybe a Pulitzer Prize? It won some prize where I said, surely that's not right. This is a great book, but surely not one of the best of last year.
I mean, I just finished Flesh by David Saloy, and I cannot believe it won the Booker.
So what this article gets into is this idea of whose turn it is. And I think it's a really interesting conversation to have around specifically like with Demi Moore. This idea of culturally who gets to have it now, because as a society, we've come together and deemed it your turn, or we've said your story is good enough, or you know what I mean? And the way that the Oscars are kind of changing. Medium-sized Meech on Threads and social media, he has a great Substack. I think he was talking about like how there are no movie stars left, that there's nobody that you can guarantee a bankable. And I think everyone's said this, like since maybe Tom Cruise, Will Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, I think especially in terms of box office numbers, that's just such a question mark. I think nowadays it's almost like once they figure out a way to quantify buzz, which I think has a lot to do with awards, because getting people out to the theaters is just hard. We've talked about this for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, so what counts as success?
So what counts as success? And I think this article brings up this really interesting thing that I think as box office success has become less of a guarantee or like less of a measure for what could be success. Because I think especially for a long time, there have been two kinds of success. There's been award success and box office success. Box office success is kind of ambiguous now because it's not necessarily about movie stars. It's not about the quality of a film. It's more about the marketing behind the IP that the movie is based on. And I guess for a long time, it's been hard to say, like, what is the best? Like, how do you measure best performance? It's always been pretty ambiguous. And now what I found so interesting about this conversation is that it was pretty long. And very rarely do they talk about the quality of the acting in the contending projects this year.
Yeah. So, for example, they bring up the question, will it be Michael B. Jordan? Will it be Timothy Chalamet? Will it be Leonardo DiCaprio? Leonardo DiCaprio is an interesting example of that idea. When he won for The Remnant, there was this feeling, well, of it's his turn.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people thought Leonardo DiCaprio was engaged to get an Oscar because he needed to campaign like a politician.
Something they keep saying in this conversation that I find very bizarre is they keep talking about the Jennifer Lawrence win for Silver Linings Playbook and how that was actually a rare example of somebody just smashing it out of the park and coming from nowhere and just getting it just because the performance was so great. That's such a weird thing to say because they're like, nobody knew her. She came from nowhere. She just was so good in that movie. Meanwhile, she had been nominated like a year or two prior for Winter's Bone.
Which is the one where she was an out of nowhere.
Yeah, true contender who did just an incredible performance. And that year, Hunger Games had come out, which had launched her to like incredibly prominent box office success. So this idea that she came from, I would say that's an exact version of, well, we wanted to give it to you last year, but you hadn't made enough money. So now you're famous enough to deserve it.
Do you remember when she went to the Oscars for Winter's Bone? That was back when I used to watch award shows a lot. She was a random person. Everyone was like, who is this girl? She was the star of some random indie film, and now she's nominated for Best Actress. She was wearing this, like, look up the red dress she was wearing. It made such an impression on me. I remember, you know, when you see someone and then you think back on it and you go, of course they were going to be the most famous person in 6 to 10 months. Like, it was sensational.
They're saying that, what's her name? Jessie Buckley from Hamnet is going to get in, that she's been quietly building, and that is kind of undeniable how good she is.
They feel that she is pretty alone in the Best Actress category.
I've heard that a lot, that people are like, well, she won it.
Yeah. I haven't seen Hamnet yet, but I'm excited to see it. But I think it's really interesting, this conversation about, like, between Michael B. Jordan, Timothy Chalamet, Leonardo DiCaprio. They also, Best Supporting Actress this year, I think is going to be a really tough one. And none of it is based on the project itself or the acting itself. It's all kind of about, like, whose time is it? I mean, they were saying Sean Penn in
One Battle After
Another should be, like, at the forefront of the conversation for Best Supporting Actor, but just vibes-wise, it doesn't feel like it's going to be his time. That being said, the conversation about Ryan Coogan for Sinners versus Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, both of them have a pretty compelling story to take Best Picture, Best Director, but, like, none of the conversation is about the movie.
It's such an interesting conversation, too, about Timothy Chalamet and Marty Supreme, which hasn't even come out yet. But, you know, people are already saying it's pretty good. But this idea, like, has he earned it? Will the Academy feel that he's paid enough dues? When you look at him as, like, the newest Leonardo DiCaprio, will he have to do another 10 years of eking it out? Also, it seems that his press tour right now is Gen Z focused. Like,
which it definitely is. That orange video is
it worked on.
Sold my ass. I said, Marty Supreme, get me 2 tickets.
I'm trying to see it in 70 millimeter next week. Anyway, it's just a really interesting conversation on what it means to win an Oscar. I mean, think about what's her name in Anora. She won it. Who the fuck was that?
Yeah.
To this day, what was her name in Anora?
Anora.
Yeah, but what was her name in Anora?
Oh. Mikey Madison.
That's actually a great name.
That is a really good name. So I actually, before reading this, happened to have watched Sinners and then One Battle After Another, one day after the other. And I do think reading this conversation about the two of them as, like, the forefront of this, but is it Paul Thomas Anderson or is it Ryan Coogler or Coogan? I keep saying Coogan.
It's a Coogan account. It's a Coogler direct.
It's a Coogler director.
If it's in a Coogan, the money is for children. If it's in a Coogler,
it's in a Michael B. Jordan vehicle. Once or twice B. Jordaned.
Yes. I can't write. Okay, I backed myself into a corner. But we hear it.
I guess I just found it so fascinating because I think that right now the conversation, and this conversation specifically, is leaning so Paul Thomas Anderson because that movie just is more recent. But having seen them one day after another, I feel that they are so in lockstep that it feels so crazy that anyone would call One Battle After Another like the runaway success compared between the two.
I mean, Sinners was such a good example of the failure to me of the theaters because I remember wanting to see it in, I don't know, 70 millimeter or IMAX. I wanted to see it in some fun way, and it was always sold out. We're doing a Gotham Awards, so check out our social medias. We're interviewing all the winners in the winners room. I am excited to hear some of the breakout commercial successes of the more like artistic, critically acclaimed films this year, what those people think the answer is. Because it does seem that outside of blockbusters like Barbie, Wicked, Predator, like the theater is for cinema experiences. It's for people who want to see something that they can't get at home, which is like a 70 millimeter in IMAX, like a. So I'll be interested to hear what these people think.
Yeah, I just find it so fascinating because this conversation feels like a little silly, but it is silly because it's so true. And then the other conversation I think to be had is like, what does it matter? Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's always a conversation where people get very heated about who deserves what, whose time it is, whatever. Like I think a lot of people feel that Demi Moore was robbed by not winning the Oscar last year. But what does that even mean? Like robbed of what?
Well, it's so interesting because then you hear from Lupita Nyong'o who talks about winning an Oscar and still not getting roles.
Exactly.
Still not having offers, thinking that this was it. She was set. And it really is one of those things like it comes from a culture that's either already rewarding you or not. It's like a cherry on top of the ice cream or not.
Anyway, I'm excited for award season.
Yeah. We're watching a lot of fucking movies. We'll have to do like a movie special on the Patreon.
Ooh, fun.
I think it'd be fun if we watched every Best Picture nominee.
I'd like that.
And Ashley, I know Mel Robbins is something to piss you off this weekend. Can you talk to me about it?
Okay. Mel Robbins wrote an opinion piece for the New York Times. You know, the New York Times opinion section, long heralded as the best opinions. Life's too short to fight with your family. And it's a little article about why Thanksgiving is a bad time to argue. I have a second thing to say about this that I wasn't even going to say, but I thought of it just now. But first, I'll say my first thing. One, what are you talking about, Mel Robbins? Shut up. That's the first thing. I read this piece. It's deeply unorganized, I feel, or like organized in a way where there are clear sections, but the pieces don't necessarily relate to each other. It's about kind of like happiness in later life and how the people who are happiest are the people who've like let some shit go. Like you just can't be upset about everything. And that I agree with. I think that there is value to picking your battles.
Because at the end of the day, it's just one battle after another.
I think there's value to trying to stay positive. She says, you know, in a research study with 1,500 older Americans, they've kind of said learning to appreciate the little things and not be so annoyed about every little thing is kind of the key to happiness later in life. You'll learn, I hope, that happiness is what you make it. Where you are, why in the world would I be unhappy? It's my responsibility to be as happy as I can right here today. You learn happy to be in spite of things, and therein lies the secret. Learning how to accept people as they are, sometimes in spite of who they are. I don't feel that those two things are necessarily congruous.
Which two things?
Being happy in the moment and just like appreciating every day, and also accepting people as they are, sometimes in spite of who they are. I think those are two separate things because nowhere in this conversation with old people do they say, and I've like learned to lay down the gauntlet and not argue with people. They said, I find happiness in every day. That's just different. Like, that's just like two things. An example she has, however well-intentioned you are, you shouldn't spend Thanksgiving trying to convince your parents it's time to sell the house and move to assisted living. Let them make their own mistakes, even if you might have to deal with the consequences. Your parents are adults. Give them the dignity of their own experience. The same approach holds for children. You may have lots of great ideas about what your kids should do, but unless someone is in danger, it's usually counterproductive to intervene. I actually just don't agree with this at all. I really find it so important to argue with people that you care about if their like needs are being met in the best way when it's possible. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think the conversation about like your parents should go to assisted living, if you feel that your parents need to be in assisted living, arguing with them is useful. Letting them stay home and like break a hip and die is like not ideal. And I think wanting the best for people is not something that you should just like let go of.
I do think it's tricky. I mean, if you want to die by breaking a hip in your house, that's kind of your right.
I guess it's your right, but I think
like, you know what I mean? I do think at some point it is like, you know me, I think people should be allowed to die. That's like kind of my big,
people should be allowed to
that's
die.
one of my big hills that I'll die. I really am like, we have to allow people the dignity of death.
Okay, and this brings me to my second thing that I just thought of. I think that we have gotten afraid of each other as a people. I think that this like fear of argument is this like weird eggshell walking nonsense where everyone's afraid to disagree. I argue with my parents a lot. I think some of it is kind of overkill and I could be a little bit more chill. And I think sometimes they have my best interest, I have their best interest. Sometimes we're disagreeing with each other. Like a fight, I think you and I talk about this all the time. It was kind of the premise of We're in a Fight with Claire and Ashley. A fight is not the end of the world. Like arguing with people sometimes just means you care about them and you argue and you move on. And I think this like fear of argument is turning us into people who are afraid of each other and like afraid to have any real conversations. And it is like fucking up families. Like I feel, I don't want to like bring in personal examples, but I feel like I see examples of things where just like the fear of getting into too big of a fight is stopping any productive conversation from happening. You know, when you argue with people about politics, sometimes it is just, especially on the internet, and I think the internet has kind of amplified this because fighting on the internet is largely useless. But I think sometimes when you argue with people about politics, it's not because you are just like trying to own somebody at the dinner table. A lot of times it's because you care about that person and you want them to like see another side of things. Disagreements happen because people think different ways, and like not learning how to sort that out is not good for like human connection.
Maybe.
I guess, do you want to say anything or am I just ranting?
I mean, I guess like when you're using your personal examples, what happens when nobody changes their mind? You just keep fighting forever? Or at some point, do you know what I mean? I think that's the question is like when there are these impasses, do you say, well, that's it, no family now? Or when you know that nobody's mind is going to be changed at Thanksgiving, do you say there's still like a lot of history and a lot of love? And if someone needed a kidney, this is who you get to call. So we might as well like share dinner.
I guess I think that that is what an unconditional love is like still giving someone a kidney despite significant disagreement. And the fact that we are shying away from disagreement because of this idea that it is just like, okay, then no more family. Like, I don't think that that is the conclusion of arguing. And I think that obviously there are some things that you just have to work around it. And I think that that's fair and you like figure out what that is. But I think her piece contributes to this idea that like any disagreement is like an unproductive conversation. When I think that like most of Mel Robbins's work, it's like a very surface level investigation of like a very complex human experience.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is like, well, what's the fight? There's like many degrees of fights. I mean, I agree. Like, I think, you know, my grandma refused to leave her house and at 96, she fell down, broke her hip and died. I don't know. She's not allowed to do that. That's what she wanted. That being said, if you have a grandparent who has maybe dementia or Alzheimer's and they keep walking out of the house and walking to the truck, like, you know what I mean? If you can't take care of yourself anymore, there is, I don't know, everything is tricky and everything is great.
I mean, with my grandpa, when he was living alone, he didn't necessarily want to go to assisted living. It wasn't a fight necessarily, but he needed some cajoling to move out. And my parents were not concerned that he couldn't take care of himself. They were concerned that he wasn't getting enough interaction with other people because he was living alone. And it kind of was like, you can live with family or you can go to an assisted living. Living alone is like probably not good for you. And it was kind of an argument that needed to happen because he wasn't going to suggest it for himself, but he was like, willing.
No, I agree. Like that there's this idea that sometimes conversations are hard because people love each other.
Yeah.
And then I think like there is the politics thing of like, well, who do you feel you just can't be around? Who do you think you can just ignore it?
I think politics is like a tough example, but I think the assisted living one is one that really like annoyed me in here because I think that there is that vertical of example. I think a lot of people are extremely stubborn and kind of judging them is like how you show you care.
I feel like that's just such a funny cultural, like, no, when you nag, is out of love.
I do think it's cultural.
Yeah.
My culture specifically, but I think
Your
good
egg-laying
handful,
culture.
my egg-laying Jews. But I do think that there is like a certain level of nagging that is proof that you care. Like my parents show attention by like worrying about you. And like my dad will answer the phone by being like, is everything okay? And it's just like, you called me. But that's like how some people speak.
Yeah.
And I think that this Mel Robbins of it all to be like, don't nag. It's like, well, what do you talk about then?
No, I agree that this idea that like all conflict is just ignore it. Like a lot of times people love each other and tough conversations have to be had. I guess that is a question of like the people you only see at Thanksgiving. Is that when you have a tough conversation? Like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
If these are people that you're only seeing once a year anyway, then is it really worth engaging?
Yeah, but her examples are your parents and your kids. So
Yeah.
likely it's not once a year.
Yeah.
I think the core of it is like when it's people who love each other at the core, then I think argument is okay because what's at the center of it is love. Whereas if that's not where it's coming from, which is like online arguments, which I think is what she is pretending are human arguments, there's no love there. That could be bots going back and forth.
No, it's tricky. And it definitely like, there's more nuance to it than, let them.
Mel, I won't let you. I won't let you get away with this.
Anyway, happy belated Thanksgiving. Good night.
And good noticings. Support for this show comes from Cotton.
Whether it's watching a movie marathon in your PJs with your family or a night out on the town in your favorite cotton coat, the holidays are meant to be bundled up, cozy, and comfortable.
So wrap yourself in your coziest cotton pieces and make your coziest memories.
Cotton is the fabric keeping you bundled up in those special moments. Cotton really is the fabric of our lives.
So when you're looking for some new soft comfort items this winter, remember to check the tag for Cotton.
Learn more at thefabricofourlives.com.